In the NFL, your shelf life only stretches as far as your productivity. One moment, you're embraced like a hero. Next, you're cleaning out your locker with nothing more than a farewell tweet. Fans often applaud the moves that free up millions in cap space, but seldom do they consider the human cost behind those transactions. Yet every release hints at a broader blueprint, and Cleveland just made a move that suggests something far more strategic than a simple financial reshuffle. When the Browns announced they were parting ways with defensive end Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, it didn't make front-page news, but make no mistake, it carried significant weight. Okoronkwo wasn't just a name buried on the depth chart. He was a Super Bowl champion, a seasoned veteran, and a defender entrusted with meaningful snaps. Signed in 2023 to a 3-year deal, his stay in Cleveland was brief, but not without merit. Still, the business of football waits for no one. His time with the Browns came to an abrupt and unceremonious end. Originally drafted in 2018, Okoronkwo's rookie campaign was wiped out by injury. But upon his return, he maximized every opportunity, particularly during his stint with the Rams, where he played a key role in their Super Bowl 56 run. Later, he found his stride in Houston, proving what kind of force he could become when healthy and properly deployed. That surge in performance earned him his deal with Cleveland. For a while, it looked like the perfect pairing, until the numbers started to shift. In 2023, Okoronkwo posted 4.5 sacks over 14 games, a solid return. But by 2024, that output slipped to just 3 sacks in 16 appearances. Pro Football Focus didn't mince words either, ranking him among the league's lowest-graded edge defenders. He faltered in both pass rushing and run defense. And for a team with postseason ambitions and a generational talent like Myles Garrett anchoring the edge, those metrics simply didn't justify the paycheck. Quietly, the writing had been on the wall long before the final decision was made. This wasn't solely about production, it was about value, about reallocating resources, about evolving. So what does this signal about Cleveland's long-range vision beyond Myles Garrett? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're interested in continuing to peel back the curtain on what's really happening inside Berea, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Day? It just escalated into full-blown chaos. Veteran insider Mary Kay Cabot dropped a bombshell. In her view, Watson has already played his final snap for the Browns. Whether that Achilles heals or not, she believes the book is closed. And if you've followed the beat, you know this isn't some out-of-nowhere take. Owner Jimmy Haslam staked his franchise on a $230 million, 0 cents fully guaranteed gamble. 3 first-rounders and a treasure chest of cash for a quarterback who's appeared in just 19 games over 3 seasons and never once looked like his Houston self. But here's the twist. The problem isn't just injury. If Watson's body fails him, the Browns trigger the insurance clause and salvage cap space. But if the doctors clear him and Watson insists he's ready, everything changes. That's when it turns political. As Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk explained, if Watson gets medical clearance and the Browns hesitate to activate him, he could file a grievance, claiming he's being deliberately sidelined. That would force the Browns into a corner, either start him, trade him, or eat that astronomical contract. The locker room just got a lot hotter. Picture this, Kevin Stefanski is trying to engineer cohesion with Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and 2 rookies clawing for reps. And suddenly, Watson shows up at practice, chip on his shoulder, cameras flashing. Do you stick to your developmental plan or roll the dice again on a quarterback who's yet to deliver? The fan base is fractured. Half the dog pound is done with Watson, calling him a sunken cost. The other half still clings to the hope he silences the doubters. Either way, the roster feels the tension. Deontay Johnson's recent comment wasn't an accident. He called Pickett the front runner, citing practice reps, Pickett with the ones, Flacco next. That speaks volumes about the internal direction. Yet even if Pickett or Flacco takes the reins, Watson's shadow looms, massive contract, marquee name, benched and surrounded by speculation. The cruel irony: if Watson is healthy, Cleveland loses the insurance fallback and their cap takes a devastating blow, even if they have no intention of ever playing him again. It's a trap within a trap, and somehow it gets even crazier. The three-team earthquake, just when you thought today's news couldn't get wilder. Bleacher Report's Brent Sobleski floated a Madden-style trade that's gaining traction, and it actually makes sense. Here's the setup. Cleveland sends CB Greg Newsome to CF to Chicago. The Browns receive LT Braxton Jones from the Bears. Chicago uses those assets to acquire Jalen Ramsey from Miami. Three teams, three needs, one detonator, and Browns fans should pay close attention. Yes, Newsome is talented. Here's the truth. Some explosive new reports just dropped, and they absolutely stunned me. What's inside confirms something many have whispered about, but few could prove: real collusion within the NFL. And yes, it involves a Cleveland Browns quarterback, which makes this all the more significant. So buckle up, because we're going deep. Now, I'm not here to shout collusion into the void or toss around reckless claims just for views. That's not my style. I'm bringing receipts, I'm laying out the facts, the context, and letting you draw your own conclusions. All I ask, stick with me, hear the full story, and sound off in the comments. Let's begin with Ryan Clark. He's been one of the loudest voices in support of Shedeur Sanders lately. And what he's been saying, well, it lines up suspiciously well with what these collusion reports are now exposing. So first, you'll hear what Clark said, then I'll break it down from both the Browns angle and the league's. Before we dive in, take a second to hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop your thoughts below. It helps more than you know. So here's what Ryan Clark said that really hit home. He claimed that maybe it's just his algorithm, but he sees Shedeur and Shiloh Sanders on his feed more than any undrafted or late-round pick he's ever seen. Instagram, Twitter, these kids are everywhere. And let's be real, a big part of that buzz is because of their father, the legendary Deion Sanders. Deion was iconic, a generational talent with unmatched swagger. He wasn't just a player, he was a movement. He told teams not to bother interviewing him because he already knew where he was going. He ran a 4.1 and said, "That's it, watch the film." That was prime time, unapologetic, electrifying. But here's where it gets complicated. Deion's fame and the way he did things may have unintentionally backfired on his sons, because this time Deion's not the one calling the shots. And as Shedeur entered the NFL draft process, things got strange. The spotlight turned sour. Suddenly there was this tidal wave of negative talk, none of it about football. All about character, attitude, personality, but never backed by specifics. That's when it gets personal, because you can't prove or disprove anonymous whispers. You can evaluate tape. Sure, maybe Shedeur doesn't have elite escapability or a cannon like Josh Allen. Fine, that's valid football critique. But these vague character assassinations, they're baseless. And they hurt. You can see the pain on Deion's face. Not just as a coach, but as a father. He's always been the protector, the fixer. But now, he couldn't fix this. He couldn't shield his son from the politics. And that kind of helplessness, that cuts deep. Let's not forget, Deion's been calling out these lies for a while. At the Big 12 Pro Day, he flat out said he knew who made those anonymous claims. And everyone who's spoken on the record about Shedeur, they've had nothing but praise. Giants GM called him a great kid, football smart, checks every box. Doesn't sound like someone toxic. So what's really going on? Critics pointed out Shedeur skipped the East-West Bowl. Okay, but ask why. Reports say the Titans, Browns, and Giants requested he sit. This wasn't a diva move, it was strategic, driven by the teams themselves. One scout even said, "He's got swagger, feels like a QB1, so again, but where's the proof of a bad attitude?" Now here's where it all gets nuclear, the collusion ruling. The NFL and NFLPA haven't even acknowledged it yet, but the ruling is out there, 61 pages of evidence that were never supposed to see the light of day, and they confirm what so many suspected. The documents outline a coordinated effort to suppress fully guaranteed contracts. Yes, this goes back to the Deshaun Watson deal and Lamar Jackson's negotiations. According to the report, at a March 2022 owners' meeting, just days after the Browns gave Deshaun that historic $230.00 fully guaranteed contract, the NFL Management Council didn't just suggest, they encouraged all 32 teams to reduce guarantees in veteran contracts. Let that sink in. This wasn't a tip, it wasn't advice, it was a league-wide directive. That's the very definition of collusion. And it makes you wonder, why hasn't another quarterback received that kind of deal since? Think about it. Multiple MVPs, Pro Bowlers, franchise cornerstones have signed new contracts, none of them fully guaranteed. Share this with the squad. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Cleveland rises together. Let's flip the script, let's rewrite history, let's unpack this. Because beneath the surface, this move is about more than just a roster cut, it's about philosophy, identity, and identity. Okoronkwo wasn't a throwaway signing, he was a notable free agent pickup on a 3-year, $19 million 0-cents contract. The front office, driven by analytics and potential, saw serious value in his pressure rate efficiency from Houston. On paper, Ogbo looked like he could be a formidable force opposite Myles Garrett. But let's be real. How often does potential translate into production? And let's be real. How often does potential translate into production? In this case, it didn't, not even close. Ogbo concluded the 2023 campaign with just 3 sacks in 16 appearances. Injuries, especially a nagging shoulder issue, derailed his momentum. Even with a valiant effort to return in time for the playoffs, he didn't move the needle. This from a player who boldly declared he'd notch double-digit sacks? The result? More bark than bite. And when Zadarius Smith was traded and Alex Wright went down early, the stage was set for Ogbo to rise. But he didn't seize it. Worse yet, the tone around his future shifted noticeably in the offseason. His name began to surface in cut candidate chatter. Free agency came and went. The NFL draft passed. Reports hinted Ogbo and CB Greg Newsome were floated as trade assets, but no bites, no deals, no traction. Now, the Browns simply cut ties, no compensation, no trade, just gone. Why? 2 words, youth and upside. The Browns are clearly doubling down on promising talent like Isaiah McGuire, the former Missouri standout who flashed late-season brilliance when injuries decimated the defensive front. Breaking news out of Berea. The Cleveland Browns have just made a bold roster shakeup that's sending shockwaves through the dog pound. Defensive end Ogbonnia Okoronkwo has officially been released. Yes, you read that right. The same Ogbo who arrived in Cleveland as a highly touted free agent signing just 2 years ago is now off the roster as the Browns clear space to bring in kicker Andre Schmidt. Now, on the surface, this may seem like just another routine off-season move. But dig a little deeper, and you'll see this decision reveals a whole lot more about the direction of the Browns' defense, their confidence in emerging talent, and how this front office is actively reshaping the future of the franchise in real time. Stick with me because this isn't just a release. This could be a defining turning point. And before we get into the details, smash that like button if you've been repping the Browns for 20+ years. We've got fans here who were at the very first game. Drop a comment like, "Go Browns, let's go to the Super Bowl." Let's rewind. When Okoronkwo signed that 3-year, $19 million 0-cents contract, expectations were rightfully high. He was coming off a solid campaign with the Houston Texans. 5 sacks in just 8 starts, and advanced analytics loved him. Pressures per snap, pass rush win rate. Ogbo graded out as an efficient and disruptive edge presence. To many, he was a sleeper steal, not a household name, but a smart, under-the-radar pickup that gave Cleveland's pass rush real upside. He was also the first free agent the Browns signed that offseason, a day-one target in the NFL's legal tampering window. That alone showed how much the front office believed in his upside. But the production never quite matched the projection. Over 2 seasons in Cleveland, Ogbo registered just 4.5 total sacks, including only 3 in 16 games last year. A shoulder injury in 2023 sidelined him for part of the year, and while he returned for the playoffs, the breakout fans were waiting for never materialized. What stings most? The preseason declaration from Ogbo himself. "I'm going for 10 sacks." That quote ignited social media and sparked real hope among the fan base. But instead of hitting double digits, he never even matched his Houston output. So where does that leave us now? The release of Okoronkwo isn't just about saving cap space or adding competition at kicker. It's a loud and clear message. The Browns are placing their faith in rising edge rusher Isaiah McGuire. Let's talk about this young stud. After the team dealt away Zadarius Smith and lost Alex Wright to injury, McGuire stepped in late last season and flashed serious promise. He made the most of every snap and he's turned heads again during spring practices. Apparently, he showed enough for Andrew Berea in the front office to say, We've seen enough. We're ready to move forward. No more fallback options. No more veteran safety nets. This regime is backing their homegrown youth. And why not? This is a Browns defense that was elite in 2023, top 5 by almost every metric, arguably the best in the league. Even with some regression in 2024, the leadership isn't panicking. They're not clinging to familiar names. They're doubling down on their young core. This is about more than one roster move. This is about identity, evolution, and belief in the next generation of Browns defenders. Make no mistake, this is a statement move. You don't cut ties with a veteran edge rusher who still flashes pass rush upside unless you're completely sold on the talent behind him. The Browns' release of Ogbonnia Okoronkwo isn't just a roster transaction, it's a full-throttle vote of confidence in Isaiah McGuire and Alex Wright, assuming Wright returns to form post-triceps injury. It's also a quiet indictment of Ogbo's underwhelming tenure in Cleveland. And the Browns didn't stop there. They just acquired Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, a former first-round pick from Tampa Bay. Now, Tryon-Shoyinka's career thus far has been enigmatic. Caught between roles, never quite unlocking his full potential in the Bucs scheme. But the raw traits are there. The Browns' defensive staff clearly sees a moldable weapon, a potential rotational disruptor ready to be unleashed. And with Myles Garrett anchoring the line, McGuire on the rise, Wright poised to rebound, and Tryon-Shoyinka adding depth, this pass rush room is becoming a serious problem for opposing offenses. It may not be dripping with household names, but it's loaded with explosive upside and untapped power. Now let's not ignore the other side of this move, the kicker competition. The Browns brought in Andre Schmidt to go head-to-head with Dustin Hopkins, who had an erratic 2024 campaign. Let's call it what it was, costly. Hopkins' misfires directly contributed to a handful of losses. So the addition of Schmidt, even if he's just a training camp body, sends an undeniable message. No one is untouchable. Complacency will not be tolerated. Accountability is the new standard, and that's the culture shift Browns fans have long demanded. So yes, Okoronkwo is gone. Thank you guys. See you next video.